Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Sunday, which means it is time for another episode of The Secrets of Kings. While you're listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that way you won't miss an episode. We only have one more after this one for the season, and then we're going to go on hiatus. But there'll still be stuff to listen to and watch while on hiatus, so you're still going to want to ring that bell. Enjoy episode 11. Gweneva, Clarity Sect Councilwoman, July 7th, 1390, 11:17 a.m. The July heat was beginning to rise as the noon hour approached. Coupled with the layered weight of her garb, Gweneva began to feel a bit faint. She was due to meet with the king, but his prior engagement must have run longer than initially scheduled. As she leaned over the stone balcony of the king's quarters, she peeled back her veil to allow the cool sea breeze to kiss her flushed face. She closed her eyes and enjoyed it for a few moments before completely removing her headdress and running her fingers through her long black hair. She felt an even more satisfying relief come over her as the breeze passed through the paths she had forged with her fingers. She looked to the pier, where a tiny version of the ship she rode in on rocked rhythmically to the tune of the steady tide. A twinge of jealousy arose within her as her now miniature crew frolicked in the shallow waters of the shore. However, she was glad to see them both taking some time to enjoy life while simultaneously fending off the effects of the intense heat.
Gweneva!
She heard an exuberant voice express from behind. She turned quickly and smiled when she found her old friend behind her.
Corbin, my goodness, old man. How long has it been since we've actually come face to face? 5 years?
Just a bit more than that, I'm afraid. Remedy was still in the womb at our last meeting, and you had just become a new mother yourself.
That's right,
She exclaimed.
Thank goodness for messengers, which have, at the very least, kept us in touch.
If only that method of correspondence were quicker.
He mused. She nodded her head.
Take a seat, old friend.
The king gestured to the table and chairs, closing the distance between them and assisting her as she sat down.
Tell me, Corbin, how is young Remedy?
Doing well.
He hesitated for a moment.
If I'm honest, though, I fear he feels a bit isolated from time to time. He does not complain much, but I know he sees the other children playing around the city, and I imagine he wonders why he cannot join them.
Gweneva nodded, vast empathy clearly showing across her face.
I can imagine it is hard, but Remedy is the heir, and these times are fraught with danger. Someday Remedy will understand.
She reassured him.
What of our veiled lady?
She is well. Takes wonderful care of the prince.
Good.
What of my brother? Have you heard anything more?
That's why I'm here. It seems he's been seeking to court the princess of the kingdom of Ashford. If he wins her hand and curries favor with her father, this could be bad for Frowena.
Gweneva explained.
This kingdom has been out of Ashford's good graces since the great battle.
All due to my brother's lies!
The king lashed out, pounding his fist upon the table.
You and I know that. But up north, he has the entirety of the border region, and from what I hear, several of the kingdoms to the north, convinced that you are guilty of horrendous war crimes.
The king let out a frustrated sigh and slumped a bit in his seat. He looked at his old friend's face for a long moment. It was clear that he was at a loss as to how to begin remedying the diplomatic and political mess in which he currently found himself.
What do I do about this, Gweneva?
He asked in desperation.
Perhaps we can help one another out.
The king perked up a bit, leaning forward to take in the thoughts of one of his oldest and wisest friends.
What are your thoughts?
The sect's leader has floated the idea of moving my post just across the Frowenian border.
Ashford or Hillmont?
The king questioned.
Ashford.
The king nodded in her direction, beginning to understand.
The sect is much more active in Ashford's political sphere. I could get information to pass to you. Perhaps it would even give me some sway there.
It might put you in danger. I'm not sure I could ask that of you.
You haven't asked, I've proposed. Frowena is my true home, and I would risk it all before I see it fall to the likes of your deviant brother.
So that was the quid. What is the pro quo?
The king asked.
As you said, it could be dangerous.
Gweneva hung her head in deep consideration.
Frowenians are already not well liked in Ashford. I'm not sure that it would be wise to bring Gadrian along with me, regardless of whether I turn spy for the kingdom. I could leave him with members of my current post, but with all that has happened over the last several years, I'm not entirely sure who to entrust him to for such a long period of time.
The king nodded.
Go on.
Remedy needs a playmate. Gadrian needs a caretaker while I'm gone. Perhaps you'd be willing to take him in.
Of course.
The king didn't hesitate for even a moment.
But are you sure you could be away from him?
Missing your children is just a cost of taking on a leadership role. It will be for longer durations, but he's already quite used to not having me around. At least with this arrangement, he would have some consistency, and I would feel confident that he was well cared for and safe.
The king looked her in the eye.
You and your son are always welcome. It would be an honor to have him here. I suspect that Remedy and Gadrian will be fast friends, just like their parents.
He smiled softly at her, and she smiled back. This sweet moment between old friends was brought to a swift halt, with a loud and frenzied pounding on the door to the king's quarters, followed by 2 knights barreling into the room. Both the king and Gweneva rose with alarm.
Your Highness,
One of the knights called out, intensity in his voice. He walked onto the balcony and spotted Gweneva, causing him to walk back the severity of his tone a bit.
my apologies, Your Highness, but we have an extremely urgent matter developing.
What is it?
King asked.
Perhaps we should speak privately.
The knight suggested.
No need. Gweneva is a close friend.
The knight hesitated for a moment, unsure whether he should proceed with a woman in the room.
Well, out with it.
The king commanded.
It's the princess.
The knight began.
She's missing.
Thank you so much for watching the 11th episode of The Secrets of Kings. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. If you have, be sure to give me a thumbs up down below. And we have one more episode for the season, which will be out next Sunday. And like I say, then we're going to go on hiatus, so that way I can continue to write, because as I said at the beginning of this, I'm going to be writing this sort of as I release it, which is intimidating and scary, but it's been okay so far. So I'll definitely want you back next season, and there will still be content going up every Sunday during the hiatus. So definitely make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button down below. And I guess I will just leave it at that and say I will see you next Sunday for the season finale of The Secrets of Kings.